Now, as we've been hearing, the US Senate and House Intelligence Committees have found no evidence for Donald Trump's claim that Barack Obama wiretapped Trump Tower during the election campaign. But in an interview with Fox News, the president insisted that the substance behind his allegations would be presented in due course.
He's submitting certain things, and I will be perhaps speaking about this next week. But it's right now before the committee, and I think I want to leave it there. I have a lot of confidence.
Why
in the
not
committee.
wait to tweet about it until you can prove it? Don't you devalue your words when you can't provide evidence?
Because the New York Times wrote about it. You know, not that I respect the New York Times. I call it the failing New York Times. But they did write on January 20th using the word wiretap.
Well, we're joined now by the national security analyst Arash Aramesh, who's in Houston in Texas. Hello to you, Arash. Thank you for joining us here on Sky News. So the intelligence committees say they've found no evidence. Is it likely that the president has any that they would have missed?
By the way, I'd like you to know and to note that this is a Republican majority House and a Republican majority Senate. So the House Intelligence Committee, it's led by Congressman Nunes, and who's a Republican, a staunch Republican, and the ranking member is Democrat Adam Schiff from California, from Southern California. So if a Republican committee chair and his Democratic ranking member colleague are saying that there is no evidence that former President Barack Obama wiretapped President Trump, or at the time candidate Trump, or the Trump building, or what have you, there's really no evidence for these empty allegations and accusations that are coming from President Trump. My guess is as good as yours, but most likely President Trump was probably watching Fox News or another network, or was watching or reading something online and went out and said these things. And the best explanation I've heard so far from those in the business is that perhaps when some people in his campaign were communicating with the Russians, and the Russians were being surveilled, some of those communications were picked up. But the president, as you know, has his own style and makes certain claims on Twitter or off Twitter, went out and said that President Obama wiretapped his calls and his billing, which is just completely baseless, and it's not true.
Well, as you say, it really is causing a rift within the Republican Party itself, isn't it? How damaging could that be for the Trump administration?
You know, that's a very good point. From the very moment, let me just back up a little bit. From the moment that Trump decided to run back in June 6, 2015, it created a rift within the Republican Party. And we all, wrote him off. We said there's no way he's going to survive the primaries. He did. We said there's no way he's going to survive the campaign. He did. We thought he was going to drop out for one scandal or another. He didn't drop out, and we thought he was going to lose in a landslide to Hillary Clinton. Even though he lost the popular vote, he still won the electoral vote and became president. So he's been able to defy all odds. I give him that. But he's always had problems with the Republican establishment. But you got to look at this sort of through the prism of contemporary American politics. That Trump is not really representing the Republican Party. He represents a populist movement that has a lot of, blue-collar Democrats and blue dog Democrats joining him with his anti-immigration message, with his populist, protectionist economic message, with his anti-Muslim message, and a lot of sort of dog whistle messages that come through and resonate to a particular part of his base. So that the fact that he's now alienating the key members of the Intelligence Committee who happen to be Republicans, or the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, who's now been thrown under the bus over the new health care bill, it doesn't really mean that the president is going to back down. As he said before, and that statement still happens to be true, he said if he were to shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, his loyal supporters would still support him. What's really going to change the equation is when his loyal supporters are going to see that his economic message, his economic policies, his anti-immigration and his isolationist policies are actually going to do them harm and are going to hit them in the pocketbooks. Maybe then they will come around and they will see that President Trump's policies are not exactly helping the middle class.
So, Arash, if he doesn't produce any evidence, what are the implications? Will there be any consequences for him?
We'll have to see. So far he's been a Teflon candidate and a Teflon president. There have been some consequences. He had to let go of General Michael Flynn, a very loyal supporter of his. Michael Flynn was his national security advisor. Michael Flynn was a lifelong Democrat, was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, was fired by President Obama. But again, we all remember General Flynn as his staunch supporter throughout the campaign and even at the Republican National Convention. He was the one who chanted, lock her up, and chanted, all those sort of angry slogans against radical Islamic extremism and so on and so forth. But he had to resign when his ties to the Russians were revealed and when it turned out he'd actually lied to the vice president, Mike Pence. Question is, how costly is it going to be for the president? We know one thing for sure. Throughout his business engagements the past 30 some odd years, and now in his political life, President Trump, and before that candidate and businessman Trump, is very comfortable with throwing people under the bus. We'll see if he's going to throw another loyalist or somebody else because of this under the bus, or whether this is actually going to cost him anything. But I really doubt he's going to come back and apologize to President Obama for having made such empty, baseless accusations that he has wiretapped or he had wiretapped the Trump building or wiretapped Trump himself.
All right, Arash, we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. Thank you for joining us here on Sky News.